Hello everyone, my name is Mildness. I'm a backend mentor and I'll be taking you on this topic lists, lists in Python. This topic is one of the core concepts of Python, so I'll be helping you understand a lot of things about it today. So, without wasting much time, let's delve into the content of this course. So, first off, we would like to know what lists are. So, a list is a collection of data of any size. A single list can contain data types like strings, booleans, etc. Lists are also mutable, which means they can be altered after creating them. So, what does this mean? In simple terms, it means that a list can contain items of any type. It means that you can put items of different data types also into a list. It is not necessarily restricted to just a string or just numbers or just booleans. And then for those that may not know, booleans mean simply means true or false. So wherever you see booleans, just know it means true or false. So this place is saying a list can contain data types of different types. You can put a list containing names, numbers in the same thing. Then it also says lists are mutable. So what does mutable mean? Mutable means something that can be changed. So if I create a list with some items, for example, I create a list with say a shopping item. So I can definitely alter that list by deleting some items and adding some others. So yeah, that's what mutating of list means. So I hope you got this first part about what lists mean. So next, we'll be creating a list. So in Python, list can be created by putting the sequence of data types into square brackets. So in Python, whenever I see this square bracket here, it simply denotes a list. So now, for example, items equals to square bracket. So this square bracket simply means an empty list. An empty list is something that doesn't contain any item at all. It is just empty. Now, if you come to this second one here, num equals to 1, 2, 3. So this is a numeric list, a list that consists of numbers. The third one, name. My name is Azayas. This is a list consisting of strings. And if you look at this last one, unique. This is a string consisting of both a string and numbers. So, like we said in the previous slide, that lists are not restricted to just a certain data type or different type. So, there's the number here and there's also the string. So, let's try and create one in VS Code and see how it works. So now this is my VS Code IDE. So I've already created a folder named lists. So if you went through the Zero YouTube channel, there will be something that will direct you. There will be a video that will direct you on how to set up your Visual Studio Code for first timers. So now I've created a list directory. So now in this list directory, I'll be creating a file, a .py extension. So I will just limit list.py. Okay, so now in this .py file, this is where we put all our Python codes. So now let me try creating a list for you to see. So for example, let me create a list containing 3 days in the week. So I can see days in week plus 2. So like I said, this box is what always denotes all lists. So when you start writing a list, you have to get this box there. So now I can put Monday, I can put Tuesday, I can put Friday. So this is a list. So you see, we've created it. So this is a list containing 3 days in a week. We can also create a list containing names, true. We can also create a list containing names, boolean, strings, numbers. It's not necessarily restricted to just a single data type, as I said before. So let me just put create a list named different and just put let's see, name Joshua, then 15, then true. So that's it. It's not necessary. You can just create a list with different items. So this is what this means. So now back to our course. Now, so we have seen how to create a list. Now we want to see how to access elements from a list. Now, an element in a list can be accessed through the index operator using the syntax mylist into bracket x. So this mylist is going to be the variable name or whatever you are holding your list in. So you're going to create my list, then x. X means index operator. So this is what this means. Index operator in Python are the numbers that each of the list items are. So for example, if you look at this first one, items, orange, apple, mango, and in Python and generally all programming language, the first item isn't number one. It always starts from 0. So whenever you're counting in Python, you don't count from number one, you start counting from 0. So these items now, orange here will be 0, apple will be 1, mango will be 2. If it was normal, if it was normal counting, you could have said, okay, orange is 1, apple is 2, mango is 3. But in this scenario, in Python, in programming language general, the first item is always starting from number 0. So now you can see items consist of orange, apple, mango. Now you want to get the item, you want to access the item of number 1. So number 1 would be apple. So now when you say print in Python is used to display your result of a certain or a solution onto the terminal. In JavaScript, you have the console.log. So different programming languages have their different way of displaying answers to solutions in the terminal. So for Python, we have the print function to do that. Now, if you come to the second example, you see num equals to 2468. Now, if you want to get the index of the element, you want to get the index of element, you want to get the item that is at index 2. So now if you start counting from the first one, you have 0, 1, 2. So the element at index 2 is 6. Now let's try doing this in our Visual Studio Code. So now we already have days in a week. So let me try getting getting Tuesday. So now days in week, like I said, this is the format here. The format is my list. This format in this syntax, my list into bracket x. So my list is the variable that all your lists are in, and x is the index of a particular element you want to get. So now let's go back to the VSC. So now you want to print, like I said, the first thing, days in a week. This is the days in a week here. This is what is holding. This is the variable that you're going to put first, days in a week. Then that box, you don't forget that box. That's what you're going to use to access the index operator. So now if you want to get the element at index 1, you print it to give you Tuesday. So like I said before, it won't give you Monday because all programming languages start from all the counting in programming languages start from number 0. So if you were to say days in week 0, that would give you Monday. Okay, good. So that is how to access elements in a list. Now, negative indexing. Python also allows the use of negative numbers as indexes to reference positions at the end of the list. Negative indexing begins from the end of the list. minus 1 is the last item, minus 2 is the second to the last item, and so on. So in Python, apart from the normal accessing of a accessing an element through the index operator of positive numbers such as 0, 1, 2, 3, you can also access elements through negative index. Now, what is negative index? Negative index simply means accessing elements in a list from the end. So in every list, there's a certain way it is counted. So for example, this Monday, if you want to count it like in the positive way, this will be 0, 1, 2. So this Monday is 0, 1, 2. But if you want to start use negative indexing, that means you start from the back from Friday. So that will be minus 1, Tuesday will be minus 2, Monday will be minus 3. So if we write minus 1, we're going to get Friday. So that is it. So you can either choose to count from the front, you can choose to count from the back. This is mostly very helpful in situations where you have a very large list. For example, you may have a list consisting of 1,000 elements. So instead of you to start counting from the beginning, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until you reach 1,000, you can just like get it from the back. So if you need to access an element at index, let's say 995, you know it will be a serious constraint to start counting all the way from 0 to 995. So you can just access it from the back with index operator of minus 5. So now back to the notes. So now this is a list. Like for example, we have a list called norms that holds items 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So now in this situation, if you wanted to get the index, the element at the last index, you'd have to start counting 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That will take time. So instead of wasting time, you can just quickly write print norms, the index operator minus 1. It will just give you 9 immediately. Then also this one too, authors John, Sarah, Wilson, Matthew, Rose. You just print authors at index minus 2. It will give you Matthew immediately. So this saves a lot of time and then helps you, yeah, also helps you save time. So this may not really be useful in situations where you just have like 3 lists like this or 2 items. In situations where you have a long list, it will like be really, 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 really helpful. So let me try and practicalize it. So let's say add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, good. I think this should be a good example. So now let's say I want to access this element 8 here. Or let me change this so that it can be distinct. So let's say I want to access this element 14. Let's say I want to access element 14 here. So it would be a little bit time strenuous and time consuming to start counting from here with okay 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. It is too time wasting. So instead of all that stress, you just simply use negative indexing. So you just simply print days in week. You just come here from the back, you start counting. That is how negative index is used. You count from the back. So this would be minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, and so on. So now you just simply come to the back here and type minus 2. That's all. And it will give you 14 without any stress. This is done terminal without any stress. So it saves you a lot of time using negative indexing. Okay, so now this next topic is functions for list. This is actually a subtopic under list. So this is functions for list. Now there are several built-in functions that can be used with lists. Some of these functions are len, max, min, sum. So len means length, max means maximum, min means minimum, and sum means addition of the list. So In some situations, you may have a list and you need to get a particular feature of that list. Now, using the normal way of just using some tools in Python will delay you. This is usually helpful when you are doing programs that contain like tons of information, thousands of lines of code. You cannot be repeating the same thing over and over again. So some of these built-in functions are here to assist you. For example, now len, the len function is used to get the total number of items in a list. So for example, this first one, ages equals to 10, Jerry, 14, 16, and Ruth. So now print len ages. This will give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This will give you 5 items. That means there are a total of 5 items in a list. Now the next one is max. That is the maximum. Maximum is just to check the biggest number in a list. So now we have this list called biggest. In the second example, we have this list called biggest. So out of all this, when you print max of the biggest item, it will give you 6. And we also have the second one, smallest list. This is also containing a list with different numbers, and you are using the mean function. Mean also stands for minimum. So it's the main function to get the smallest item in the list, and the smallest item in the list is 0. And you also have this last, it's not the last actually, like the last example. There are different built-in functions in Python. So you use the total equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this last list, and you print the sum. So sum will just help you print the total number of to print the sum of all the numbers in that list. So the sum of all these will give you 15. So now, let's say for example, if you were to do this through the normal means, you would have to do something like, okay, let's say we have something like this list. So you have to start doing something like days in week. Days in week, you would have to start adding, you have to start saying days in week 0 plus days in week plus days in week plus days in week 1 plus days in week 2. So you have to be going on and on and on and on, and there are about 20, I think about 25 or 25 times in this list. So it will take a lot of time. And especially when you're working with a program that deals with tons of information, this will be really time wasting. So instead of all this stress, you can just print out the sum through the sum function. Just print sum of days in week, and then it will give you the total. This is just total immediately. It will just give you the sum of everything in this list. You can also use the max function. Like I said, is to check the maximum number there. The maximum number is 14. You can also check the minimum number. Minimum number is 1. You can also check the length of the list. Length of the list is 27 items in this list. So there are lots and lots of built-in functions. You can also Google to get other functions for list. For example, you can come to Google and just search out built-in functions in Python. And you can see all the functions. There are lots and lots. There's the type, there's the input. Input used to print to write strings, get strings from the user. There's absolute function, there's the power function used to square numbers. There are lots and lots of functions that you can get that you can research and get. So that's about functions for lists. Now list slicing. What is list slicing? To get a specific range of elements from a list, the slicing operator in column, this is the slicing operator here, is used. The slicing operator returns a slice of the list using the syntax mylist start end. The slice is a sublist from index start to the index end. So what does this mean? Now, list slicing is used to get elements in a certain range. So let's say you have elements 0 to 10. but you don't need you don't need all the items in that list. You just need to get like elements from number 5 to 9. That's where list slicing comes in place. So to use list slicing, you need an operator, and this is the operator here. This colon is what you use to denote list slicing. So now when you are using it, you have to put the variable first. My list here stands for your variable holding the list. Then start symbolizes where you want to start from in the list, what index you want to start from. Then end means where in the list do you want to end. So now this is an example, e.g. norms 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So now you say print norms 0 to 3. So this means print the numbers from 0 to 3, but don't print 3. So it's going to print from 0 1 2, but it won't print the element at index 3. So now you see in this list, if you say print 0 to 3, it's going to print 1 2 3, but it won't print 4. Now if you look at this next example, it says print norms 2 to 5, start from index 2. If you count from here, this is index 2 0 1 to index 2 is 3, then print to index 5, but it won't print 5. It won't print the last that index at index 5, so it will only print 3 4 5. That's all. So now that's that about that. So when you're using index operators, always make sure to know where the last end value is going to stop. So if you are printing the whole of this, let's say you're printing from index 0, let's say you want to get numbers at from 1 to 5. So you're going to use 1 2 3 4 5 6. You're going to use 0 to 5. You're not going to use 0 to 6, because if you start counting from here, it's going to start from the first index. Like I said before, it may seem confusing because of this zero index, because of this zeroth index that all Python numbers start from, but with time you get used to it. So always note where your element is going to end. So now this is, let's say I want to print to 5. This would be 0 1 2 3 4. So that means I will say get me the element of 0 with this index of with this slice operator of colon. You put 0 colon 5, so it will print all the elements from 1 to 5, but it won't print number that last index, that is 6. It will print it for you. So that's that about that. Now the third example, 4 colon nothing. So now when you put it like this means print from 4 to the end, print from index 4 to the end. So no matter how long your list is, if your list contains a million items and you just say, okay, I want to print from index 10 to the end of the item, it will print from index 10 to the end of this your million items. So now look at this norms list. Now we have 0 1 2 3 4. So 4 starts from 5. So when you say print from 5, so this 4 index to the without any indication is going to print from 5 to the end. So it's going to print from 5 6 7 8 9 10. If the list was longer than it will still be going. Now this next one is print nothing, then index 3. So this one, anytime you see nothing in front of the index operator, it simply means 0. So it simply means there's an invisible 0 in front of this before the slice operator. So that means it's simply going to print from the beginning of the list to wherever your last index operator stops. So if this index operator stopped at 5, it will print from 0 1 2 3 4 5. It will print to 6. You get. So now this last one, this last in slice operator, without any thing and without any number in both sides, without any number in both sides, yeah, it's going to print the whole list for you. So if you put the slicing operator like this and you don't indicate any number where it should start or where it should end, it's going to print the whole list for you from beginning to end. So let's try and practicalize like this last one on our list and see how it goes. So let's say I want to get days in week. Let's say I want to just recreate this list without having to type anything. You just put days in week without colon, and it's going to print the exact same list for you out without altering anything. So that's simply what this thing means. This index, this slice operator, without any start or end value, is going to print the whole list out for you. Now, if I put like this index operator and say, okay, end at index 10. So it's going to print from number 1 to wherever index 10 stops. So this is it. It's going to print from 1 to 1. So you see, now if I said print from index 10, or if I say print from index 2 to the end, this index 2, 0, 1, 2, that is 3. So it's going to print from 3 to wherever the list ends, and the list ends at 9. So this is it. It prints from 3 all the way to 9. So that's it. Now there's another little trick. So if you want to get the reverse of this list, the way you can do this is like using the slice operator twice, then minus 1. So it will just reverse the list for you. So if you do that, you're going to get the list in a reverse, the list in a reversed manner. So that's that. So next is list comprehension. So list comprehension provides a concise way to create a sequential list of elements. A list comprehension consists of brackets containing an expression followed by a for clause, then 0 or more for if clauses. So what does this mean? Now, if you have watched the loop video in the YouTube channel, this should make more sense to you. However, if you haven't watched it, I would advise you to watch the video containing the loops. Those are the 4 loops. The what you need, most especially for this, you need the 4 loops. So I would advise you to. There's a video that will have been released on loops, so I advise you to watch it in the channel in order to understand this better. So now let's delve into the examples. So for example, there's norms, or let me explain the what it means for you. So now normally if you're using for loops, you would have to like use different blocks of code, different lines of code for if, and it will just be too long and contain a lot of space. Now this comprehension provides also the same way to do such, but in a more concise manner. So now instead of using like 5 lines to write a for if statement, you can just use 1 line. That's what this list comprehension does. So for example, we have a norms list that contains items 1 to 10. And I said this is a variable that contains list comp. And it says for x in norms, print x. So what does this mean? It means for all the numbers in norms, print x. Let me explain this on the portal for you so you understand better. So now if I wanted to get all these items on this list with a for loop, I would have said for, let's say, I in days in week, print I. So you see, it will bring out all the numbers for me from the beginning to the end. To bring out everything. If you scroll up, you see all the numbers there. It will print out every number for you. So that's what it means. That's what a for loops does. This is simply saying for I in days in week. That is saying for each number in days in week, for 1, 2, 3, 4, for each of these number in days in week, I want you to print I out. Now, if we wanted to make this more complex and we have an if statement, we may say for each of these numbers in days of the week, if I is greater than 2, print I. One code. So these are the numbers it will bring. These are the numbers greater than 2. If you see, there's no number here that is below 2. If you look at my terminal here, none of the numbers is below 2. So it's going to print out all the numbers greater than 2. Now if we made it like, let me make it smaller, we'll see if I is greater than 5, print I. So these are the numbers that are greater than 5, and it's going to print out all of them. Now if you see, this is already containing like 3 lines of code, and there's, instead of wasting this much line, there's a shorter and easier way to do this. So this is through the use of list comprehension. So list comp, this will be what we would my list comprehension. So I can see first off for I, the same thing we did. Okay, let me not delete that. Let me leave it so you can also see exactly what I'm doing. So to recreate it, list comp will be equals to for I. So this same thing we did here, that's what I want to recreate into here. So list comprehension, in order to use list comprehension, you have to denote them in a square bracket. So now for I in days of the week, in days in week, for I in days in week, that is our variable here. So that's what we are recreating here. So now you are saying for I in days of the week, if x is great, if I, sorry, if I is greater than 5, that is print I. So you see, that is exactly the same thing that gets printed on our terminal. So now you see in this list, to get a better understanding of this, I would really suggest you watch the for loop video. It will really explain this also. So now if you see in this normal long loop here, we first explain for I in days in week. If I is greater than 5, print I. So now this list comp here presents a shortened format of that. When you want to write something similar to this, you first start with the for loop. So that will be for I. This I can be anything. This I can be X, it can be A, it can be B, it can be your name, it can be any day, it can be anything at all. It's like a variable. So for I in days in week, if I is greater than 5, that means you are saying, okay, for all these numbers, for all these numbers in days in week, if any of this number is greater than 5, print that number for me. That's what this I here is showing. So if you have said for I in days in week, if I is greater than 10, print that number for me. That's what that I here is me. Print that number. So it will print all the numbers for you that are greater than 10. So that is simply what list comprehension means. Now list methods. Now what are list methods? Once a list is created, you can use the list class method to manipulate the list. Some of these list methods are, so let me first explain this. List methods are ways for you to manipulate a list. So when you create a list, there are sometimes that you may want to do different things to a list, but it may be somehow stressful for you to go back to go and start editing the list. So you can use any of these against any of these list items. Let's say you are coding a program and this program involves like thousands of lines of code, let's say 2,000, 3,000. It will be too much, it will be too stressful to start going back looking for everywhere you when did I write this list? You have to change, add, let's say you want to add an element to the list, or you created days of a week, let's say Monday to Thursday, you forgot to add Friday, and you have gone things so far and you're saying, you know, you'll have used that list in so many different places. So instead of going up and down to look for where you change, edit, it takes so much time and to be too stressful. You can just use any of these list methods. So for example, append, the first one, append, it adds elements to the end of a list. So now, for example, like I said in that days of the week, so if you only did wrote Monday to Thursday, instead of looking for everywhere where you go and start looking for to edit, you can simply just use this list method, append. Just append what you want to put at the end of the list, and that's all. You can also use the insert. This insert is used to insert an element at a given index. So let's say you have a list of items and you want to insert another item at a specific place. You use this insert method. You can also use the sort. The sort method sorts the elements in the list in ascending order. There's also the count. Count returns the number of times element X appears in a list. That means it returns the number of times a particular element appears in a list. Then there's also the reverse. This is used to reverse the order of elements in the list. Then there's the remove. Remove is used to remove the first occurrence of elements from a list. So let's say I have 2 4 2 4 4 5 5 5 6 in an element, and you say remove the first one. The first one, let's say you say remove 2, it's going to remove the first occurrence of 2 in that list. So let me like practicalize like 2 or 3 of these examples. Let me use sort to start. So let me delete this off. So let's say I want to create a sorted list. So that is a list in ascending order. So what I'll simply do is write the list I want to sort. In this case, the list I want to sort is days in week. So I'll just put days in week dot sort. That is the list method I'm using. Dot sort is the list method like we considered. So then I'll just simply print out days in week, and it will give me this list, this days in week list in a sorted out manner. So see, everything now is sorted. 1 1 1 2 2 2 3. Everything is now in an ascending order to the highest. Okay, so now let's look at that another list method. Okay, let's say we want to use the insert list method. So now to use the insert list method, we have to do it like this. Insert, we have to use the insert list method. So we put it in our insert list method has two function, has two, it takes two parameters. So it will take the index of the elements you want to change, then you take the object what you want to put there. So what this means is that whenever you want to insert an element into a list, you have to first put the index that you want to insert it at. So now look at this list now, days in week. There are different numbers that have their different index. So let's say I want to insert a number at index 2. So I'll put the index here, index 2. Then the object I want to insert there. Let's say I want to insert 15. So I'll put 15. So that means I want to insert object 2. I want to insert object 15 at index 2. So if we run this, this is what we get. So you see object 2. So that is in the first list. Look at the first list. This is 0 1 2. The number that was taken index 2 before was 3, but now we have changed it to say that the number we want at index 2 is going to be 15. But note that this does not delete the number there. It doesn't delete 3. It only shifts it forward and puts this 15 in that index that it was. So that is that. Now if you want to use append is one of the list methods. So let's say we want to append 1000 to the end of this list. So just simply use the list method and we put append, and it's going to give us a new list with 1000 at the end. So that is simply what append means. Append means to add something at the end of the list. So now whenever you want to use a list method, what you first do is declare the variable holding the list. In this case, days in week is the variable in the list. Then you use dots. The dot operator is what you use to access the list method. So that will be dot. Then it will show you some of the list methods. Some here is showing you append. There's count, like we showed there. There's count. There's extend. They are different. There's this insert we just used. There's insert. There's reverse. There are many. There's pop. So you just look for, put your variable first, put your dot operator, then you look for the one you want to do. So now let's say we want to try and count the occurrences of, let's say number 2 in this list. Okay, count, like we said in the notes, count returns the number of times element x appears in a list. So in this case, let's say our element x is 2. We want to count the number of times 2 appear in this list. So just print days in week dot count, then we run code, then it's going to print 3. That means 2 appears in this list 3 times. Let's try and count ourselves. So this is the first time. This is 1, where else again 2, where else again 3, and that's all. So it's correct. So that is that about that. Okay, so now besides these list methods, there are still a lot more list methods out there that you can research on. There are many that will be very useful to you, whatever projects you may be doing. So now that brings us to the end of this discussion on lists. Now, these are some practice questions I have for you. So you can go back, you can, after what we've learned today, you can just practice these questions on your own. They are not like meant to be submitted, it is not compulsory, but doing it will really help to like sharpen your knowledge and like show that you really learned something from the class. So this is the assignment, the practice questions you can do when you're less busy to practicalize what you have learned during the duration of this class. So the first one, I said create a shopping list items, create a shopping list of items you wish to purchase from a supermarket. So you are going to a supermarket now and you are going to purchase some items. So you can create a shopping list with Python of everything you want to purchase. Then the second question, use the learn function to get the number of items in your shopping list. So you use the learn function to get how many items altogether are in the list you want to get. And note that the list must be more than 10 items. So you should not be below, but it should be above so that you can be able to understand more what this topic has covered. Now the third question says use the slice operator to slice out items in the list that are more urgent to you and return these items in a leave list. So now, like we said before, the slice operator is used to return numbers at a specified range. So you can use this also to slice out items that you feel okay, I feel this one I need it more. So you can use the slice operator to slice out these items. Now, with the aid of list comprehension, list out all the items in your shopping list and add the word but in front of each of the items. So what does this mean? This simply means if you have gotten all the lists, you have gotten your list now, all the items you want to buy. Now you are going to use list comprehension to list out all those items, and then in front of it there's going to be a word but. So let's say in your list you have orange, milk, egg, banana, and pear. So now you're going to use this list comparison to list out all the items, and in front of all the items you're going to write but. So you're going to write, when you have used the list comprehension, the result should be something like banana but, milk but, pear but, and so on and so forth. Now the last question, with the aid of the list method append, add one item to your shopping list that you wish to buy as a gift for a friend. So now you have gone to a shopping mall or a supermarket to get some items for yourself, and then you want to get something also for your friend. So you can use the list method append to add one more thing to your list that, okay, I wish to get this for my friend. So you can just practice these questions to broaden your knowledge on this topic we have discussed. So now let's enter the second topic we'll be discussing in this recording. So this is called dictionaries. Now what are dictionaries? Dictionaries in Python is an unordered collection of data values used to store data values like a map. Unlike other data types that holds only a single value as an element, dictionary holds key value pair. The keys are like an index operator. Each key maps to own value and there cannot be duplicate keys. Okay, let me explain what this means. So in Python, we have something called dictionaries. Dictionaries are used to map elements to a certain key. So unlike in lists now you can only list one item, one data type, one single value. You cannot like join it to another one. So in lists now you can have a list of like orange, mango, banana, like that. But in dictionaries, you can actually map these values to a specific key. So let's say I can put in a class, let's say I can put number one student in that class, James, number two student, Rebecca, and like that and like that. So that's what this key value pair means. That means there's a key and there's a value that key is holding. Now this dictionaries is useful in something like let's say registration sorry, okay. Sorry for that pop-up that came up. Okay, so this dictionary is useful in something like, let's say, passports. Not a person can have the same passport number, so they can get a passport they can use a dictionary to like create a passport, You can put your name as the key, mildness for me, for example. Then the value of my passport number will be there. So no other person can hold this. So, and that's what he said here. There cannot be duplicate keys. So it's not possible for another person to hold the same key I'll be holding in that dictionary. So let's move on and see how it works. So now creating a dictionary. You can create a dictionary by placing a sequence of elements within curly braces separated by comma. Dictionary holds pairs of values, one being the key and the other corresponding pair element being its value. Values in a dictionary can be of any data type and can be duplicated, whereas keys can't be repeated and must be immutable. So now, this is exactly what I was saying. So now, in order to denote a dictionary, it has to be in a curly brace separated by comma, and then dictionary, like I said previously, holds the key and other corresponding pair elements. That's like its values. So now, see for example, students' ages. We have John, 15. We have Esther, age 17. We have Abigail, age 18. So this John is what is called the key. Esther is the key. Abigail is the key. Then the values are those digits in front of them. So John 15, Esther 17, Abigail 18. So if I have a database where something like this is stored, like the list of students in a school and their ages, I can simply just go to the database. I can simply just go to the database and type the name of the student I wish to know their age. Just enter, let's say John James, type it. It will bring out his age for me like that. That and it will only be one because as it is said here, keys cannot be repeated and must be immutable. So there can only be one John James. I can't have any other one. Now there's also this one, products. There's also another dictionary down here, products. One, shoe, two, bag, three, wristwatch. So this one is the key and this shoe is the value of that key. So key one has the value of shoe, key two has the value of bag, key three has the value of wristwatch. So that is what it means. Now let's try creating one in IDE. Okay, so let's say I want to create a dictionary of students learning Python. So students learning Python, student learning Python. So I can, as it said there, all dictionary items should use a curly brace. For if it was a list use square brackets. Dictionaries use curly brackets. So now we have students learning Python, and let's say I want to denote like their let's say I want to denote their age. Let's say I can say for example which name can I put now? Let's see Thomas. Thomas age 20. Let's see Frank age 25. You can also see Ruth age 30, like that. So if I want to get this dictionary, I'll just simply print students learning Python and it will return this dictionary for me. So you see this is it here. Thomas 20, Frank 25, Ruth 30. So the key in this dictionary is Thomas. The keys are Thomas, Frank, and Ruth. So now this is how you create a dictionary in Python. So let's move on. So now addition of elements to a dictionary. The addition of elements can be done in multiple ways. One value at a time can be added to a dictionary by defining value along with the key, e.g. dict key equals to value. Note, while adding a value, if the key value already exists, the value gets updated, otherwise a new key with the value is added to the dictionary. Okay, so let me explain this first part. It says the addition of elements can be done by defining value along with the key. So this is what it means. Let me explain it here. Okay, let's say I add this dictionary. Let's say the dictionary was empty. Let's say from the inception, the dictionary was empty, and I want to add elements to this dictionary. What I'll do is that it said you use this format. Dict is the variable within the dictionary, followed by the key that you want that your value to have. I hope you understand. So you said dict is the variable name. So in this case, the variable name here is students learning Python. So that's what I'll put first. Students learning Python. Then the next thing it says is key. So this students learning Python, you want to add some elements, right? So now these elements, what are the keys you want them to hold? So let's say I'm creating an element. Let's say I want to name it. I want it to hold the key of 1, and the person holding it, that is the value, as you see here. So the dict, the key, and the value. What's the value of this key? So like I say, the student holding this value should be Victoria. Victoria. Now you can also add another element. I can say, okay, students learning Python. What key do I want the student to hold? I can say, okay, let the student be number 3. I can say, let me name him John. It doesn't have to be necessarily in a like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can choose any key you want. I can also go ahead and put students learning Python. This is basically adding this dictionary items, adding these items to this dictionary, this empty dictionary up here. So now student learning Python, I can choose this last one as the key should be 5, and I want to name Ruth. So now if I want to print my new dictionary that I've created, I just simply run code, and you see everything is down here in the terminal. Number 1, like I denoted here, was Victoria. Number 3, John. Number 5, Ruth. So all these things I created will be pushed into this empty dictionary as the new dictionary I've created. Okay, so yeah, so that's that about that. Now retrieving values from a dictionary. Now, like in lists, if you paid attention when I was going through the list explanation, I said to retrieve a value in list to use the index operator, whereas to retrieve the value of an item in a dictionary, you are going to use the key. So if the key is in the dictionary, the value for the key is retrieved. Otherwise, it will throw you a key error that look at this thing you're asking of me, I can't find it in this dictionary. So it's just basically like a normal dictionary. When you open a dictionary, you're looking for the definition of a word. If you don't see the word there, that means there's nothing that exists like that. But if you see a word there, that means that key, the word you are looking for is the key, then the explanation is the value. That's just simply what it means. If you want to like bring it to what you are saying here. So you open a dictionary, you're looking for the word, the meaning of the word happy. Happy is going to be the key. That's what you're going to be looking for. Then the value is going to be the definition. Hope you understand. So now in this case, we have a student's dictionary. 1 is the key. Student number 1 is going to be Daniel. 2, Loki. 3, Rebecca. Let's say you're going to the student catalog and you just want to retrieve the value for a student. You can just enter and type, okay, print student 2. And to bring out Loki. So let's practicalize it on our IDE. So now we've gotten our students learning Python. How many are they? There are 3. Okay, so let's say you want to retrieve the value for, let's say you forgot, you just want to retrieve the value for students in that list, in that dictionary, a certain student. Let's say you don't know their name, but you know what number they are. So you know their key rather. You don't know their value, but you know the key to get that student. So you can just come here, put the box. It will automatically bring out the list of keys and their values. So you see it's writing here, this is a dictionary key. So you can just say, okay, I've forgotten who is in number 3, but let me check it and get it out. So you just print it to give you John. So it will tell you, okay, this is what you stored when you were saving the dictionary. John is at position number 3. So that is what it's going to show. So that's how you retrieve values from a dictionary. So now this is dictionary methods. Now, just like list methods that we discussed earlier, in list methods, there are the append method, there's the count method, there's the reverse method, there's there's the remove method, there's the insert method, there's the abs method, there are different methods in the list. So in this dictionary, likewise too, we have dictionary methods. These methods can be invoked from a dictionary object. So this, well, let's practicalize like three of these examples. Let's practicalize three of these examples so that you can like at least have a fair enough knowledge. So now we're going to practicalize keys, values, and get key. So now this is what we have. We have students learning Python. We already have them in this list already. We already have them in this dictionary, sorry. We already have these students and their keys in the dictionary. So let's say we want to get student learning Python dot keys for this student. So you see, this is the keys for this list, for this dictionary. Sorry, I'm missing it up. So these are the keys for this dictionary. See it in this terminal here. These are the keys, and that's exactly what we have here. 1, 3, 5. So if you want to get all the keys that you have for a certain dictionary, you use the dot keys. So just like I explained in list, anytime you want to access a method, you are always going to use the dot operator. That's what to bring out the method that you can access. So now I've put the dot method and I want to access the keys. So when I put the keys, it's going to show me all the keys I have in my dictionary. So this is 135. If I want to use the values is also a method in dictionaries. If I put values, it will give me all the values. These are Victoria, John, Ruth. So it will bring out all the values I have in my dictionary. Let's use the clear, just delete, it just clears everything, deletes the whole dictionary off. Then the pop key removes the item for the key and returns its value. So let's say you want to pop item at number 3, so you can just pop it. So when you pop it, it will return the value. So let's say the value there was John, it will just pop it up and return John. Then this get key returns the value for the key. This is basically the same thing with retrieving, with this retrieving values. So now you know right here you say per student 2, it will return lucky for you. So instead of using this student and having to put the 2, and you can just simply use the get key method. This is how you do it. So student learning Python dot get key. You have to put the key inside this bracket. So what student's value do you want to get? So you want to get the student at position 3 and it returns for you John. So that's how that works. Now there are lots of dictionary methods just like in the list methods. So now you can also take that as an assignment and go and research on the list of dictionary methods that are out there. So now these are just some practice questions that are for you in this dictionary topic we took. So the first one is create a dictionary that contains the months in a year. So you can create a dictionary, for example, dictionary that contains months of the year. You can say, okay, number 1 January, number 2 February, number 9 September, number 7 July, number 12 December, and like that. So you can create a dictionary of all the months in a year. Then the second question, using the get keys method, get the value of your birth month. So now after we have created the whole months in the year, you can now use the get keys method to get the value of your birth month. Then the third one, with the aid of the values method, return all the month names. So now, like I said previously, you use the values method to return all the values in a certain dictionary. So you can use the values method to return all the month names. So these are just some practice questions you can do to like broaden your knowledge of what you've learned today. You can still do more in-depth research, but this is basically what you can just practice to help yourself. So now this brings us to the end of this course on lists and dictionary. I hope you were able to get one or two things that you benefited, and I hope you understood the concept explained. Should you have any questions or inquiries, you can try reaching out to me on Slack with the I have the username of mildness in case you have any question that you want to bring up that you didn't really grab or understand. So yeah, that's that about that. We'll see you all in the next class.